Hi, I'm Michael Rubino, indoor air quality expert, founder of Home Cleanse. Today we're going to talk about the biggest remediation scams to watch out for. You won't want to miss this, so make sure you pay attention to the entire video. When most people are dealing with mold, they think they can just call any mold remediation contractor to resolve their problem. But if you think just hiring any contractor is going to give you a mold-free home, think again. The mold remediation industry is full of scams, and if you don't know what to look out for, you could be wasting thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars and still be breathing in toxic air. Mold remediation isn't cheap, but you know what's worse than spending money on a cleanup? Spending money on a bad cleanup. Scam number 5, the spray and pray method. If a company tells you they can kill mold by just spraying it with chemicals, you need to run. Killing mold doesn't remove it. And breathing in dead mold can still cause allergic reactions in most people. Bleach and antimicrobials, they don't penetrate porous materials like insulation and drywall. Spraying, it just doesn't fix the moisture problem that caused mold in the first place. Proper remediation, unfortunately, it means physically removing the contaminated materials, not just spraying something and walking away. If your remediator isn't cutting out the moldy materials, if they're not HEPA vacuuming, doing a thorough wipe down, then unfortunately, you're probably gonna spend money and not notice a difference. Scam number 4, the one test wonder. One air test is not enough to determine if a house has a mold problem or not. But some companies, they use this as a way to give you a false sense of security because the inspectors, they don't make money off the remediation. So for many of them, charging you $1,000, coming in and doing an inspection, taking one air sample, telling you there's not a problem, it's a way for them to earn a quick buck. But unfortunately, this false sense of security might make you think that your house doesn't have a mold problem when it actually might. So the thing about air tests, they only capture a snapshot in time. Mold isn't always airborne. Hidden mold behind walls won't always show up in an air test either. It depends on how far beyond the wall you take that test from. But the more barriers there are in front of this colony, the longer it takes for those spores to aerosolize. And here's the other thing, the cassettes, they're designed to capture a tiny particle. When these spores mix with the dust that's already aerosolized, as the spore itself aerosolized, it becomes attached to the dust. Well, the dust is typically too big to fit inside this cassette. So we're only able to capture with this air test isolated mold spores. And sadly, some companies, they manipulate the test to make it look like there isn't a problem, even if there might be. A real mold inspection should include air testing, dust testing, moisture mapping, thermal imaging, a full inspection of the home to figure out where there might be problems and then validate those problems with those tests. If they're only doing one air test, they're not giving you the full picture. Scam number 3, the fogging fix. Fogging might sound high tech, but it's actually one of the biggest scams in the entire mold remediation industry. Fogging only addresses airborne spores. It's not eliminating mold at its source, and it's not fixing the water source that allowed the contamination to exist in the first place. Mold colonies, they're likely going to survive this fogging process and continue to create spores and toxins after fogging. As a matter of fact, when you look at the studies of these places being fogged, it had a bell curve, right? The results went down for a little bit, 3 months later started to roar back right up. Because again, the sources that allowed the contamination to exist in the first place, they remained. Here's the other caveat. Fogging chemicals in your house could trigger mold to produce mycotoxins. It's self-defense mechanism. You see, that chemical warfare that mold produces, it is produced because mold feels threatened, typically by other molds or other bacterias fighting for the same real estate. But if these chemicals trigger the mycotoxin production, then it's going to be another problem. So if a remediator tells you that all you need to do is fog and that they can fog away your mold problem, they're lying to you. Scam number 2, the HVAC blind spot. One of the biggest mistakes in mold remediation is ignoring the HVAC system. HVAC systems spread mold throughout the house. Mold can grow on the AC coils, the filters, and the ductwork. So if the filter isn't changed, if the ducts aren't cleaned and the coil and blower wheel are not cleaned, and any contaminated insulation inside the cabinet itself, if it's not replaced, you're still going to be breathing in mold, even after the house is remediated. Therefore, if your remediation doesn't include inspecting and remediating the HVAC system, you're still going to be breathing in mold long after the remediation, because you're leaving that contamination affecting the airways, which affects every room in the house from which you breathe. Mold remediation is not complete without addressing the HVAC system. Scam number 1, the everything is fine report. Some mold remediation companies aren't just bad at their job, they straight up lie. Some companies fake the post-remediation reports just to show that the house is cleared when it still has problems. They might take tests in clean areas while ignoring contaminated ones. Matter of fact, this literally happened to me on a project in Brooklyn. We were trying to show the insurance company that there was still an issue on the left-hand side of the kitchen because they only approved remediation of the back wall and the right-hand side of the kitchen. Their inspector came in and literally took a swab from the removed side, the remediated side, and then said that the kitchen is clear and no additional remediation is needed. He didn't test the left-hand side at all, which is the side that we said still had issues. What do you think happened after that? The insurance company said, remediation's done, you don't need to touch the left-hand side. This was a prime example of how you can literally fake testing to come to some conclusion, typically that benefits the insurance companies. Last but not least, you need to listen to your body. If you still have symptoms, it's likely mold might still exist inside the home.